आपादमौलिपर्यन्तां गुरूणाम् आकृतिं स्मरेत् येन विघ्नप्रणश्यन्ति सिद्धन्ति च मनोरथः लक्ष्मीं तनोतु नितरामितरानपेक्षमङ्घ्रिद्वयं निगमशाकिशिखाप्रवालं हैरम्बमम्बुरुहडम्बरचौर्यनिक्रं विघ्नाद्रिभेदशतधारधुरन्धरन्नः सर्वेषां स्वागतम्. This is the positive psychology for the 16th shloka and we are continuing with contemplation. So we saw in the previous positive psychology session in the 15th shloka where contemplation becomes an essential part of trying to figure out what we are doing, why we are doing, the nature, internal nature of kriyas. And why was it important? Because the logical fallacy of seeing that karma and jnana can go together has been experienced, has been exposed only after contemplation. This contemplation, we also talked about how it has to be understood through self-awareness, and the ultimate reaching point, destination is going to be positive, reaching a positive orientation, and it is intentional focus. It can be forceful but not against will, and it is non-judgmental experience, acceptance of it. All these things we talked about. Now, when we talk about contemplation, why is it necessary? Because it leads to a particular state of well-being. How? We will get a better understanding. That is, self-awareness increases. One, emotional regulation happens. Emotional regulation is extremely important since we are talking about understanding something, the kriyas, and understanding the nature of kriyas, which leads to attachment. Therefore, emotional regulation is another outcome of this contemplation. Then we have the concept of positive orientation. It leads to a positive state of knowing something, reaching that state of understanding reduces pain. In a way, ignorance is actually bliss because I don't even know what is happening. But when I am subjected to certain pain, understanding where I went wrong gives a little bit of solace. So jnana also can be blissful. We say ignorance is bliss, but jnana also can be blissful. Acceptance is required, that's all. So I am ignorant. I've learned something new that has made me accept the pain. That is the most important quality of acceptance. That if I don't accept it, it becomes fear. If I accept it, it becomes an adventure. If I don't accept, it may become jealousy. If I accept it, it becomes inspiration. So that acceptance is extremely important. That contemplation brings about, and therefore it has the power to turn any of the negative vrittis to a positive emotion. That is the reason contemplation is important. Obviously, as mentioned before, it also brings about resilience. So these are the importance of contemplation, why we should do it. Then what happens? How do we contemplate? There are different methods. Usually meditation, being self-aware is very big part of it. So probably journaling, writing down, having a checklist. These kind of things help us manage day-to-day activities, and bringing about contemplation actually helps. The most simple exercises at the end of the day, before we retire to bed, before we sleep, think of 5 actions, 5 things that you have performed throughout the day that makes you happy. 5 things. So every day when I do this, it becomes difficult because every day I can't say I help that person, I help this person. Yeah, it actually doesn't make us happy when we keep repeating positive statements. The reason is being we do it with less heartedly. Sometimes, okay, the first time when I do it, I get a rush out of it. Second time I do it because I got a rush the first time. Third time I do it, I just do it for the courtesy sake. So that positive emotion while performing the action wanes. So therefore, if it is human nature where we connect more strongly with negative emotions. That is the reason we are able to recall something that happened at some 5 years ago and then still cry about it. But if we remember a joke or anything like that, we're not able to reach that state of laughter. Humor, we don't repeat twice. So because of this nature, to sustain a positive emotion, we use bhakti, the nature of awe of higher power. He can be so benevolent that it brings about a sense of security for us. So therefore, we use to bring about positive emotions is actually very difficult, and contemplation can make us blissful. So one of the ways of doing it can be journaling. That is, every day before we retire for the day, just sitting and just thinking, what are the 5 things that made me happy today? Something that I did, and slowly it gets expanded because only I did means it starts to restrict our thinking. Then anything that 5 things that made me happy, that can also be yes that. Any 5 things that made me really happy today. Happy as in not just I think we spoke about the concept of flow, where I actually lost my presence at that point of time. I got involved in something. So these kind of things can bring about contemplation. And the other practice is gratitude. I think schools have that where before they leave for the day, there's a closing prayer also. Thank you God for the food we eat. Thank you God for the something. Thanking, gratitude, showing kritagnya bhava. So that also is there. Happy for something, realizing the value actually lies in being gratitude towards it. So that is also a practice of contemplation. So practice that Ishvara Prasada Bhavana is actually it expands into the practice of showing gratitude. Then we have um if you're finding it difficult to do these things, then spending time with nature. That is at 5 a.m. where there is no noise of traffic or those things. Listening to the birds chirping, that helps. So these are some ways, methods where we can initiate contemplation. Ultimately, to contemplate or not requires a certain thought, and I already said it requires a certain inflection point because it cannot just initiate suddenly start up. There has to be some prerata for it. So, but to initiate a state of mind which is fit for contemplation, we can do all these things. So, with this, we wrap up contemplation as a insight of positive psychology from Sri Rama Gita, from the 16th verse. So, contemplation is the um, concept of positive psychology that we see in 15 and 16. With this, we end this session. स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः प्रतिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महीमहीषा गोब्राह्मणेभ्यो शुभमस्तु नित्यं लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि।